Good evening to our vast and wide audience here. I'd like to call the Tuesday, May 1st, 2018 Selectmen's meeting to order. If you would join me for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So we're a little short tonight. Actually, I'm short all the time, but we have we have a quorum, and we're missing Mina, who was prior engaged, and Sarah as well. So we will do our best to get them updated. She may, if she can break free from her commitment that she had. She had a work family commitment, and she will try to make it. She said that, so that's good. But let's get right to it, and I'm going to look out into the audience all around. Ruthie, do you have anything for the public comment period? Nothing. Okay. Well, we can check that one off the list safely, so we're good. That's fine.
I saw Candace out there.
Is she out there, Candace?
Candace? Is Candace out there? I saw her there like 30
Okay.
seconds ago. That's strange.
I don't know. Just us. That's what we then we'll wait for a moment, I guess. You want to give it a minute, and then we're going to bring you guys up right after the interview so you can give your update.
You want to do selectmen updates
You want to jump ahead and do that?
while we're waiting?
Yes. Let's go ahead. Who wants to lead off?
Well, I went to the debate. I know there were a couple other people here.
Yeah.
I was up and I had a thing for the
Commitment?
cab. I had to meet some contractors, and I couldn't
Contractors,
go. Yeah.
But I was very encouraged. I thought people did a great job. It's not easy to especially when you haven't debated before. So, but I thought people did a nice job and a lively discussion. I think, if I'm correct, there were more people at the debate than at the annual town meeting.
Yeah.
So, but I thought they did a great job, and I think we should have more of those things. The other thing is I went to the, and I know a couple other selectmen were downtown as well, to the Rockport Gives Back, the Rockport Public Schools. I thought it was nicely done. I thought people were having a great time. It was a beautiful day, similar to now. And the music program and the arts program were really, there was a spotlight put on them, which was great. Rockport's always been a very eclectic group of people, and a lot of artistic people, and we were able to kind of put a spotlight on it. So thank you to the Rockport Public Schools for that. That's it.
Absolutely. Great. Denise?
Yeah, I followed. I'm not on. I followed Paul around.
Yeah.
So I was at the debate as well. I was really thrilled to see so many people there and so much engagement. I think next year we need to find a bigger venue, because I was lucky I got a seat on the floor, but I think there were plenty of people who couldn't get in. So it's good that there was so much. You couldn't get in? Yeah, I know. A lot of people I talked to couldn't get in.
No.
But next year we'll find a bigger spot, and hopefully we'll see the same level of engagement. And I was just, as I always am, blown away by those kids. There's so much talent in this town. It's unbelievable. I mean, some of the singers, I couldn't believe they were like high schoolers.
Yeah.
Really impressive. So that's it. Just following Paul around.
Right, there you go. Well, that's good. That's a tough act to follow. Kind of
Yes,
like
it
Paul
is.
following Bruce Tarr around too. Would you one thing, Becca? I think are the mics up a little high on this? Feel like I'm getting a lot of feedback on this. Can you just right? Yeah, it's
The
a little
echoey.
echoey in here.
Yeah.
Is that a little better? Maybe that's it. Testing.
Yeah, much
That's
better.
perfect. That's good. Is that okay for you? Great. Thank you.
A little higher.
We just make sure that, since we can't hear it, that you're a little bit closer to it.
Sure, we'll bring that right in. Okay, testing, 1, 2. I have 3 things tonight. First of all, I have, after, I brought it up a while ago at a Board of Selectmen meeting, and then We had some follow-up, and then it kind of fell by the wayside. I've decided not to wait any longer and kind of push the issue. I've called Bruce Tarr and Ann Margaret Ferrante to come in and sit and meet with us. And what I'd like to do is, prior to that meeting, which is being arranged through Mitch in the office, he's taking care of that, we need to talk about the things that we want to talk to them about and the priorities that we have. And then also set up a plan moving forward for when they could come in. Now, of course, with them, it's kind of a bit of a moving target because,
Sure.
you know, they're being pulled in a lot of different directions. But I want to find the most advantageous times, you know, prior to budget season, when if we need something, we can get to them. Perhaps that's the time. But I'll defer to them and let them talk about it. But I talked to Ann, and then I saw Bruce at the convention on Saturday. So they're both on board. Everything is great with that. So we're fine. The MBTA, I've got quite a few calls from people who live in and around, it's actually my neighborhood, King Street Court, about the T and the trains, and there was actually 3 trains on Saturday night that sat the entire night idling. My wife actually woke up about 3 a.m. and walked down the hallway and tripped over my son, who was sleeping in the hallway because his window directly faces
Oh
the
my
T
God.
station, because his windows were literally rattling. So it's not good. So I had some conversations, and they've assured me they're going to take steps for that. I have a contact with Keolis, and we're going to take care of that. So that's being addressed, and it won't be let go until we have answers, and I will absolutely report back to the board and let you know what's going on with that. And the last thing I have are the warrants, and we'll get right through them. I'll go as quick as I can. Selectman Campbell signed the payroll warrant number 42 totaling $112,425.45, and expense warrant number 42 totaling $173,118.63 on April 18, 2018. Selectman Campbell signed the payroll warrant 0 totaling 0, and expense warrant 42A totaling, $3,345.86. Selectman Campbell signed the payroll warrant number 43 totaling $536,814.22, and expense warrant 43 totaling $375,986.81 on April 25th, 2018. And this is this is not on here, Mitch, correct? So we have to do this one. Okay, so don't worry about reading this one.
Don't worry about that one, it'll be on the next one,
Okay,
sir.
so we'll let that one go. And that is all that I have for right now. Anybody else? Anything
Nope.
left?
Nope. Good.
Great, fantastic. All right, we'll jump back in our rotation here, and Candace Waldron, you're up. It's for you, and it is, you've become a member of the Rights of Way Committee. If you want to come right up to the table here, you can sit. The mic is on, it's green. That would be great.
Going to,
And yes, can I have a motion, please?
Yes.
Come on, let's go. Everybody needs an entourage. You're gonna get drafted too to come in and do something too. There you go.
I'd like to nominate Candace Waldron as a member of the Rights of Way Committee for a term to expire on June 30th, 2019.
Second.
You've heard the motion, it's been seconded. Any further discussion? Great. So the way it works is we're gonna interview you now.
Okay.
It's gonna be long and exhausting. You'll be here till the wee hours of the morning.
It's
And
not
then-
what we told Candace.
Right, exactly.
Better take my coat up.
Right? And then what we'll do is, nothing gets voted on tonight. At the next meeting, you don't have to be here at the next meeting. If you would, you're welcome to come. You can see we're a jam-packed house tonight. Everybody loves to be here. So it's your option to come at the next time.
Okay.
Okay? So I guess, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to be on the committee?
Well, I moved to Rockport with my family in 1988, and I've loved my whole life walking in the woods, and there's no more beautiful place than being in the woods by the ocean. So I just think that it's such a unique treasure that we have here in Rockport, that there are public access paths, and I would hate to see them disappear. I walk them on a regular basis. And I'm so appreciative that the town of Rockport keeps them open, and that the citizens of Rockport keep them clean. You know, you hardly ever see litter. I mean, I think we take really good care of those paths, and I think that it's important that visitors who come to Rockport have access to those as well.
Is there anything that that you see that a direction you'd like to go, something you'd like to accomplish, anything that really stands out to you?
I just think more awareness of where the paths are and communication amongst the folks that live near those paths, the fact that it's a partnership. We don't want to exclude people. We also want people that use those paths to be respectful of private property owners. And to, there've been some erosion with the recent storms. So putting them into shape so that they can, be walked safely. I was part of the cleanup day on Earth Day, so it was great to see so many people out, taking. When I work full time, so I'm not around a lot, but I used to always notice all the big orange, bags of things that the right-of-way committee used to do, and now I'd like to be part of that team.
Well, that's awesome. That's great. Anything else from Denise? Do you have
Yeah,
anything?
so Don called this an interview. Actually, we're just thanking you for volunteering. It's not an interview.
That's it.
You want to interview us, that's fine.
Right?
We're just grateful that you're interested and, willing to spend your own time on the committee, so thank you.
Thank you.
Selectman Murphy?
Yeah, I just, again, I'd echo my two colleagues. I think this is one of the most important and unique committees that we have here in Rockport, because Rockport is filled with such beautiful places on the water, and over time, if we're not careful, thank you to the Rights of Way Committee, people that have this oceanfront property, after a while, they gradually believe, generation after generation after generation, that that's their property, when in fact it's town property.
Right.
So that's why it's a very, very unique group. Not all cities and towns have Rights of Way Committee, but in places like Rockport, you need to have it, so thank you.
Yeah, and we want to preserve that.
Right. And you've attended meetings,
Yes,
Yeah,
came to
that's
one.
right? Did you want to consult with counsel?
They can prove I was there.
Right? That's great. No, that's great. Well, again, thank you. It's great when people step up and they want to help the town, and especially in something like this that has such an impact. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's great. Do we have anything else? Nope. And we have a motion on the floor. We have to vote on the motion
Correct, for the nomination, yes.
for the nomination. So you've heard the motion. It's been seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. And the motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And mine is aye, by the way. I didn't say aye when I should have. Let me just throw that in there. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
That's no problem. All right, so we're gonna jump in the middle of this right now, and we're gonna let Joe Parisi and Bruce Reed talk to us about Long Beach and kind of give us an update on what's going on. You guys want to come over to the table, please, if you don't mind? Thank you. All right, it's been fun down there, hasn't it?
It's really been a challenge, actually, yes.
I can imagine. I can only imagine. I went down there and I saw it, and you guys are doing great work down there. Great work. I mean, it's been a trying past 3 or 4 months, between storms and everything else. And you and you guys have stepped up, and it hasn't gone unnoticed, and it definitely hasn't gone unappreciated. So
Yes, it's been quite a lot of work, and the guys have been doing great efforts to get it back in place. It all started at the end of the seawall, at the Gloucester end, and I think that's pretty stable at the moment and open for business. Probably better than it was before, actually, as far as the access goes. A nice set of steps there. We do have, issues at the center of the wall that developed probably a couple of weeks or so later. I think it's just a continuing issue with beach erosion and undermining of the seawall. And I think, as you all know, what happened, we awoke to a section of sidewalk maybe 100 feet long that just fell into a hole, a ditch. I'm going to just send these for you to look at as I tell the story, but you probably have
I
a
took a
visual
walk
of your
over
own
there.
yeah, I went down and saw
Yeah.
it.
Right. So there was a good section of sidewalk that fell in. There was a
By the way, Joe, I was in Mexico on the beach when when this came on my iPhone. The picture of this.
Oh, yeah?
Mitch had sent it,
Yeah.
and it was like 85 degrees. Well,
Yeah,
I had an adult beverage in my hand. Anyway, I had to comment on that.
right?
It's
just
good that
wanted
I
to-
did that on TV too. I just,
He just wanted to brag that he was in Mexico. That's it.
I know, he just likes mentioning that. Oh, we were freezing.
So, we all sprang into action. We did see conditions there as being, very much critical. I think seeing that hole there really led us to believe that the thing was ready to tip. And in fact, it did. It seems like it leaned out a bit. And so what we planned to do and what we ultimately did do is bring in granite stone boulders to, put up against the front of the wall and prevent that from wanting to lean forward. And also backfill behind the wall, try to get that sort of tightened back in.
What section of the, I know we got the 38 and the 50, help me out here.
So you
58,
have,
thank
you have two
So
sections
what
of wall.
section is this that we're talking about? Sam?
So this particular section was the 30s wall.
So this is the older part of the wall, and this is the wall that does not have the footings
That's
underneath,
correct. That's
Okay.
correct.
Yep.
But it is right at the intersection of, the joint was at the intersection of the 30s and the 50s wall. And I think I think there's a picture there. If not, I will have another one. But there is a vertical joint, a construction joint that shifted 3 inches out. So there was definitely, obvious looking at the railings that things have moved out. All the material that was behind the seawall supporting the concrete sidewalk had washed out underneath the footing because there was a gap along this section below the seawall, the bottom of the seawall, of about anywhere from 6 inches to a foot. That it was obvious that all the material, as the waves pushed in, it pulled out the material and it just kept dropping from the bottom up until at the point where the sidewalk had nothing, to support it and just fell in.
Yeah.
So,
Based on that, Joe, and maybe I'm getting ahead of it, and if I am, tell me you're gonna get to it, I'm sure you will. How do we understand what the rest of the integrity of the wall and the sidewalk is like coming down the wall?
well, that is the question, and I think that's something that we've got to be assured of. And we've done an investigation in the sections of seawall that still have concrete sidewalks, but we've also seen some other sinkholes develop over time, and so we're not certain, not 100% certain that it's all safe.
So what are we doing? How do we
Well,
do this?
what we'd like to do, I mean, we have filled in some that were very obvious, but I think maybe the next best step is really just to remove all of the concrete sidewalk that's there. For a couple of reasons. One, it is uncertain how it looks underneath, and we want to make sure things are safe. Two, it's very sloped as it is and difficult to walk on. If we can pull out all of the concrete and then compact the gravel, level it off, I think we'll have a better walking surface, although it will be gravel and not very pleasant to bare feet, but
How many feet are you talking about pulling out the concrete?
well, there's about 3,200 lineal feet of sidewalk. We only took out about 100 or so,
Okay.
so still
But
quite
on
a bit.
on the 38 section of wall with no footings, wouldn't the tides still undermine and erode the structure there?
Well, I mean, as it is right now, the sand's coming back up, so we hope that loss of sand or gravel behind the wall is stopped for the summer months at least. Concerned that in the coming winter season and the cycle where the sand shifts out, that will be still exposed to further erosion issues, undermining issues, potentially over tipping over or tipping forward at least some degree and having the same impact. So I think we do need to plan both for immediately just making the area safe by taking out the concrete sidewalks, and also planning for some additional stabilization in front of the wall. It could be both beach nourishment and some additional boulders. The good news, I guess, is that there are some additional grant monies available to go forward and do some of that work. We would have to apply for it, but I think there's a good possibility that we could get into a cycle of beach nourishment for the next number of years until we at least are in a position to do permanent repairs.
Well, and I think that's where my concern comes in, is that I'm afraid that, I mean, we have to do whatever we have to do to make it safe. That stands to reason. You guys will do that, and I trust you completely on that. But my concern is that we're gonna put a lot of money into something that's gonna have to be fixed anyway. And I mean, I hope we're not, I think it kind of looks to me like it's the beginning of the end on this whole thing. And I was hoping that this wasn't gonna come for maybe another year or two, and we had a little time to really put things in, but maybe I'm wrong about that. You know, so I mean, what would you say about that?
Well, you know, as I was saying, that I think beach nourishment is good for any situation going forward. It just makes a healthier beach and additional sand in the system to keep, I guess, the undermining of the seawall from happening, or at least try to minimize that. The other thing is additional boulders along the front of the revetment, as we have been putting in, to stack it at a steeper angle against the wall. Right now, I mean, there is a revetment there that stretches out about 20 feet or so along the whole length of the 3,200-foot length of seawall. But they've, over time, been shifted and moved, and they're in front of it, and yeah, they can protect to some degree to break up the waves and maybe trap some of the sand from easily being pulled out. But by restacking and maybe a double layer of stone along the revetment, that will help keep the wall vertical if it does tend to get undermined because of loss of sediments. So if you do a couple of things like that in front of the wall while you are still preparing for whatever you do with the seawall eventually, I think that can only help stabilize things.
And I think that's good, but we still don't know what our lifespan is with those boulders there. I mean, it bought us some time, obviously, but we just don't know how much.
Right. I mean, there's definitely going to be a point in time where we will need to, come forward with a repair plan or other decisions that are made. But I think we can certainly, give ourselves those number of years that are needed to figure out the funding of the project, and also keep the area safe while things play out. But I think the most immediate thing would be the removal of the concrete sidewalks. In fact, I talked to Bill Hinckley. He's the contract manager for the state's Dams and Seawall Grant. And I informed him and showed him some of the same pictures you're looking at about the problems that we're having. And he certainly understands the hazards that we have and the need to make it safer. He's looking to see if there are some additional funding available to help pay for the removal of all the concrete sidewalks and, put in a nice, safer gravel pathway.
Think they do the whole wall?
I think that they would certainly look for funding to make the wall safe this year. And June 30th is sort of like the cutoff date. And I think that they would certainly entertain additional requests for construction funding next year. Construction in the sense, it's more, I guess, additional stabilization efforts. The front of the seawall, beach nourishment, and in the granite stone revetments. I think in sections where especially they have failed, that they would probably fund, additional support of that area and beach nourishment to whatever extent possible. And in fact, the existing grant that we have for $228,000, and the town does have a 25% match in the amount of $76,000 for a total project of $304,000. Those funds are we're looking at the expenditure of those funds to slightly alter how we go forward. We want to now look at incorporate basically a stabilization plan, an interim stabilization plan up front. In other words, we want to get the engineers there. We want them to start designing and looking at the sediments. What do we need to match grain size and all of that, and where are the sources of that sand, so that we can put in an application relatively soon. I think it's going to be due mid-June. It's not out yet, but it should be coming out shortly. A request for applications for additional funding. We'd like to be in a position where we can request additional monies so that we can do a beach nourishment and, again, some additional, granite boulder support, if you will, putting additional stones on the existing revetment.
Denise, did you have something?
Yeah, so that was one of my questions, Joe, is where you're going to get the sand to nourish the beach. And then just to live up to my reputation as a broken record, we have this conversation. Seems like a lot, but the beach only needs to be nourished to the extent that we continue to armor the beach. So it's a never-ending cycle, and eventually what will happen is there will be no beach because of the wall. So, I guess I was hoping that the infrastructure committee would be thinking a little more long-term in evaluating options and not necessarily revert to what we've done in the past. I don't know what's possible, but it seems like just sort of, surrendering to this idea of let's just put more armor up and bring more sand in that will get washed out next year. We're gonna have to do it again the following year because that's the pattern. Just doesn't introduce any new ideas that are taking into account what's really going on with the beach. So I guess I'm just a little disappointed that there aren't any other considerations or ideas.
Well, those consideration, and Bruce, you can talk, but just in
Yep.
my perspective is that there are some immediate actions we need to take now. I
No,
mean, we do-
understood.
So,
Safety. Yep.
right. So, longer-term issues and actions, I think the committee is still, open for discussion on that.
Okay.
But I think certainly there are some things that we should be positioning ourselves now for, so that we don't find ourselves in a disastrous situation.
I mean, with the sidewalks?
Sidewalks and, walls tipping over and loss of property.
No, absolutely. Safety comes first,
Yeah,
absolutely.
so
Yeah.
it's safe to say that we're doing this for the safety of the residents.
Right.
And longer-term discussions about, climate change and the seas rising will become, will be, taking it up
Right.
in more detail.
Correct. I mean,
Okay.
none
Thank
of
you.
this, puts money into the actual seawall itself.
Okay.
Good.
But it does nourish the beach, which I think is important regardless of whether the wall should go some years from now. I
Yeah.
think having more sand in the system is a good thing because it's been lost over the years and not been able to be replenished, like you say.
And so what are the likely sources for the beach nourishment?
Well, there are some
Styrofoam.
There was something I heard about Maine, and we had they found the right granular size.
I mean, there are
in
some
Maine.
inland sources, and our engineers have, seen some that they believe may be a good match, but that's the investigation and the work that needs to be done. So, we hope that they will be able to do the work fairly quickly and be in a position to put an application in that helps promote the additional work we need to do and get it supported through additional grant.
So I have one more question.
go right ahead.
Yeah, so, and why gravel on the sidewalks?
Well, that's a typical backfill material. I mean,
Okay.
structurally, I mean, we could top it off with other things as well, but I mean, you need something that's, compacts well and keeps a good dense surface.
It's just so, usually gravel's really sharp, right? Like, can you put like
There's
wash
different core
stones?
thicknesses, I believe, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can, well, you don't want to put sort of a rolling stone or a wash stone, but I mean, you could put a powder or stone dust
To
topping. I
compact it
mean,
a little
that's,
bit,
yeah.
yeah.
I
Okay.
mean, there's an additional expense to that, but I think, again, if we have some funding that does become available, I'm gonna find out tomorrow if there is actually additional funds that they can actually provide to us now. But then we can get into some quick work to remove the sidewalks and then backfill with whatever gravel we need to make things level and perhaps top it off from there.
So what kind of a time frame are you looking at to get all this done?
It's a quick one. June 30th is when this money needs to be spent, from the additional money that the state is providing. So there might be, not to say there
Just the
would be
people to
some.
spend it too.
Right.
And I think that we, certainly we want to get it done so that we're not, too deep into the beach season as well. So the timing seems to be, we all want that same endpoint, but the reality is that's a lot of work and how we're going to put it together. So we just want to make sure that, that's the right direction to be going in, that we all believe that taking out the concrete sidewalk is the right way to go and that we have, the funding to get it done. And we'll come up with, whatever game plan we think is necessary to hit that goal. I mean, we may not get it all, but we certainly want to get as much as we can. And I think the further we get out from, from the middle to the ends, the better we'll be, because I think it's a lot safer on each end as it is in the middle.
It is, and that's a very big, if I may, just from the risk management perspective, the sidewalk in general, as you were, is a very significant issue. And
Yeah.
Holding the committee aside for a moment, we would be rapidly approaching the need to take some action on a large scale anyway. Even
Okay.
if we didn't have this particular collapse, there are some significant issues. You know, we're spending a lot of time at the beginning of each season trying to put a skim coat in between a
Yeah.
few pieces,
Yeah.
and maybe that lasts for a while, and
Yeah.
then it shifts a little bit more. So, and then as the board's aware, we all got the photos last year of someone who took quite a fall.
Well, that's
with
my
that. So-
concern this year.
And that's part of the intent in really for safety needing to take the sidewalk.
No, and I agree with that, but therein lies my concern right now, because you got up until June 30th, we're at May 1st. I mean, it's still 2 months, and there's gonna be a lot of people there. So the issue that I have is that if it is undermined even further down, and something collapses, and somebody's walking, I mean, is that still an open walkway down there, or how can we, I don't think you can ever guarantee it, unless you use sonar or whatever you use, but how do we give a relatively reasonable, safe walkway for people?
Well, I think ultimately tearing up all the concrete is.
No,
the
and I
thing.
get that, I'm talking about right now, by the time we do
Well,
it.
we did have, DPW, and I believe Mitch, you were there as well, walking the whole length and really trying to, find voids with a metal rod, just sort of sticking it into the grass right on the edge of the concrete. Also tapping the top of concrete, it was difficult, because, you can hear if there's a void, but because we've already had settlement, we've already had, the sidewalk is sloping, there's natural voids that have always been there, What we're looking for are, the very deeper pockets that are now just recently developed because the bottom of the footing has been undermined such that it's all leaving. Now, I can tell you that not only was the 30s wall undermined, but also the 50s wall with the footing right next to it was undermined. So it isn't just that the 30s wall is bad and the 50s wall is fine with a footing, even though there was a footing a foot deeper, what appeared to be a foot deeper than the bottom of the 30s wall. The level of erosion at that section was still below that, another foot.
Are you recommending at all, or is it a consideration to shut the pathway down altogether?
No, I think that it's safe. I'm confident that they've done their due diligence to see if there were any other voids, but I know that there are still things that could happen that we'd be unaware of.
Please.
So, assuming you get the money tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
to go ahead, how quickly could you get the sidewalk done, do you think?
60 days.
It'll take full 60 days.
Well, I'm going to give myself
Yeah.
the 60 days
Okay.
for certain.
You're not going to commit to it.
You
I
know,
should have thought before I asked that
you know,
question.
so the problem is, is resource. I mean, we probably need a combination of contract services and our own in-house
Yep.
forces.
Yep.
We can do a bit of the removal, but we just don't have all the time that we need to do it. We have other issues at
Yes.
Front Beach to
Yep.
do and all throughout town. So we're looking at perhaps being able to extend the work day, and do some of this work at night. And, we can certainly move forward and incorporate that in our workday, but we can also bring some additional forces, contract services in if time allows. I mean, the procurement of that just eats up some of the time. That's the
Yeah.
unfortunate part.
Yep.
Okay.
So, Mr.
Did you-
Chair,
please.
if there's no objection from the board, we'd certainly like to be able to keep going in this direction. And that was certainly the intent of bringing it in front of the board this evening, to get a general consensus and, we're okay in the short term to keep progressing for this emergency safety work.
Yes.
So that's, we're hoping that the board is fine with the direction that we're looking at for this, and certainly longer term issues, and we'd certainly be back. But for the shorter term, and because of our extremely condensed
Yeah.
timeframe, if there are no objections, we'd like to continue proceeding
I have
on
none.
that front.
No, I think it's fine, and this is all money that's already been allocated, already there. We're not looking for any additional money right now, correct?
Well, I mean, it's unknown. I mean, this is money that the state has, they believe they have available. Bill Hinckley is checking with his associates to see in fact if it is. So if he comes back tomorrow with the necessary funds to do this project, then we want to go forward with that. There may be, if it's typical of the money we have now with this grant, a 25% match that the town will have to come up with. But it's certainly better than having to come up with 100% of the cost.
Have you gotten an estimate on all of this yet? I mean, do we know what it's gonna cost us?
I have not. I mean, we've done some rough estimates as to what the, let's say, the disposal cost of the concrete would be. You know, we're talking probably about, $8,000 to $10,000 on that.
That 8 to 10,000 for the whole walkway to get rid of it?
No, disposal.
For disposal?
Right, disposal.
Yes, we would have trucking costs, that's assuming that we put it in our own trucks, so there's some fuel costs for that. That's paid for, that could be paid for the grant as well. Cost of our equipment, I think, would also be,
What about the cost of the material to backfill?
that would be eligible as well.
But if we
So-
got an I mean, I guess where I'm going with this is we're looking at $228,000 on a grant, right? 76 is the town match, we have a 304 total. All of that money can be allocated towards this, is that correct?
No, that's all, that's money that would be still in the program for design
The
efforts.
longer term.
Right, no, I get that, but you said some of the money, of the things you talked about, could be used for some of the things here, correct?
There's
Some of the engineering.
the engineering, the
Engineering. So
design,
the
yes.
design- So that money can only be used for design aspects. So I guess my question is, where are we pulling the money from, or what are we looking at as potential sources to bring the money in for the backfill?
Right, so if we were to get, say that we had a grant that was $50,000, or they said we have an additional $50,000 that you could use, we'd have to come up with 25% of that. So 12,500.
I think.
No, I get that, but I'm sorry, Bruce, I apologize.
No, that's all right.
I understand that, but the grant is 50 grand, but to me, to take all the concrete out all the way down the wall and backfill it all, that's gotta be more than 50 grand. So my question now becomes, where does that money come from?
So I think some of that, I'm just, sorry, Joe, some of that is mitigated by the fact that our guys may do some of the work. You know, I think that's always been kind of our ace in the hole, that our guys are capable of doing a lot of work. It depends, you know, as Joe said, there's a lot of issues that they have to work on. They have a big to-do list. But that's certainly, even a little work from them mitigates
without a doubt,
quite
absolutely.
Quite a bit. So
Absolutely.
what would normally look like, 50 to 100 may not be near that, depending on how much we're able to actually carry out
What's the
ourselves.
material too? I mean, the labor side of it, I understand, but Bruce, you were gonna say something?
Well, yeah, I think part of it is we don't know the answer yet, Don. I mean, this is happening so fast that we're trying to put it all together, and I think, we don't even know what the state would give us. I think part of the conversation tomorrow will give us an handle on what kind of money the state would give us, and then, quite frankly, we have to price it out too, because I don't think we know yet, in all honesty. But, on the other hand, you've got an incredible safety issue down there that just makes it seem like this is the only way to go. Now, I don't think the commissioners would be real pleased to go with it, except for the fact that it is a huge safety issue. And the
That trumps
problem,
everything.
the other part of the void problem is, like the piece that collapsed, not long ago, that 100-odd foot, it collapsed down low. So you wouldn't even know you had a void.
Yeah.
So when's that next 100-foot section gonna
Right.
collapse? And what happens if it collapses when there's a kid on it or people on it?
That's my concern, that's
Yeah,
right. That's
so-
exactly right.
So it's a tough situation, so I think we still gotta work out the numbers, but I think this is, quite frankly, the way to go.
I guess if I may, one
Please.
worry I would have is, it's like when you have an old house and you take a wall down and you think you're just renovating the bathroom and you're actually rebuilding the whole house. I'm just a little worried that's what's gonna happen when we take the sidewalk up and, the problems are not something that you can get done by June 30th. It's, but I guess we'll only find out when we
think-
do it.
We will make sure you know as soon as we know.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd be very curious to know what the estimates come back in at, because I mean, the labor, I get it, we can supply most of that ourselves, but it's the cost of the backfill and the material,
But if I could just caution us all on our labor too, I mean, I think our guys are really talented, and I'm convinced they can do that job down there, but if they do that job down there,
They're
what
not
jobs
doing
aren't
it.
they doing? I just had a woman on, Bearskin Neck stop me today and said, you gotta fix this, and she's right. and you got Front Beach, and you got this, and you got that, so we're, guys are,
No, and I agree with that, but I think obviously you guys will do a good job at prioritizing the safety issues.
we hope.
Well, ahead of these things, so. And I'm sorry, I keep coughing, I'm not sick. I don't know, I've never had allergies in my life, but I'm getting killed for
have
some, oh my God, it's driving me
So,
crazy.
yeah, so as I said, I mean, I think I see a need to extend the work day, meaning that we would be working in an overtime situation on this project. You know, as time allows, and resources allow, we'll do that. But certainly, we're also gonna look at contract services to see if we can maybe have, dual crews going, if we need to really meet that date by June 30th. But we don't know until we see how productive we can be, you know, so I think the first thing to do is try to start off with our crews, just see what kind of system we get in place. At the same time, try to see what kind of pricing we would get through contract services, and then have that kick in as, you know, as soon as we could.
So you wouldn't shut, and I'm just throwing this out there, you know more than I do, but you wouldn't shut it down and just start removing the wall, so at least you'll have an idea of what you're in for?
I think what we would do is we would section off pieces of, you know, the work zone and just keep moving that, you know, down towards the Rockport end and also towards the Gloucester end.
So you're gonna work both ends coming to the middle, is that what you're planning?
Well, work from the middle out is my thought at the moment, you know, because the middle is where it's already open.
Yeah.
And so we would be able to move to the end, but we'd have to really look at the access points and how the equipment would come and go. It's a little bit more planning than, you know, what we've had time to do so far.
Okay.
I just have one last,
Yeah, please,
one last
go- no, go
question.
right ahead.
So will the committee be coming before the board kind of to present other, the kind of larger proposals?
I'll defer to the chair on that one, Mr. Reed.
Well, yeah, the plan is to work with the board on it, but I mean, I think the committee's under the impression we got our marching orders in the sense of, you know, we had those different plans, you know, Plan A's, Plan B, Plan C, and et cetera. And the way we were moving until by the way, I wasn't at the last meeting, I was away, and the infrastructure committee supports this unanimously, you know, moving forward, taking care of the emergency situation. But the committee is under the impression that what we need to come in with to the board at some time in the future is a plan to say, here's the rebuilding of the wall. And whether you rebuild the wall from A to B, or A to Z, let's call it, all at once, or whether you do it piece by piece. And that's the direction we're working towards. And, you know, we were working with GZA, but we've kind of refocused, shall we say, to try and take care of this part of it first, because
Yeah.
we need to stabilize it. Otherwise, we're gonna be way ahead of where we need to be.
Well, this
Yeah.
kind of works with the plan that, along with what you're saying, with what we talked about the last time, is figure out what we need to do to make it good for right now, and then formulate our plan going forward. But the one thing that I want to stress is, and I will talk to Sarah, and, well, actually, we're going to be restructuring pretty soon. Communication is key to this whole thing, and your committee needs to come back to us and let us know what's going on. We don't want to, you know, you guys do your thing, but we would need to know what's going on, so we're all in the loop and we're all on the same page.
Well, I think, yeah, and that was the intent of the committee. I mean, it's not the infrastructure committee's place to make any of these decisions. This infrastructure committee is trying to come up with is plans to present.
Agreed.
And that's what they're trying to do. And then and we're sort of ahead of the commissioners on this one too, you know, being in here, because we haven't really discussed this yet. But I think that, you know, knowing my fellow commissioners, that, you know, safety isn't a key issue. So
Yeah,
we're not
absolutely.
meeting until next week.
Okay.
Great.
Any, Mitch, go-
That's, if the board's comfortable, I think at this point, you know, we'll continue to
Yes.
press on.
Yep, please do.
just run with it and make sure it's safe, that's all.
And we'll come in anytime. Just call us if you feel that we're getting too far away without talking to you, just let us know.
No, that's fine, but one of the things, and this is kind of in a broad sense, but one of the things I'd like to see moving forward, when any committee is formed and any charge is given, that a timeline is attached to that as well.
Makes sense.
And a timeline of, you know, whether it's 2 months, 6, whatever it is, I mean, depending upon the task. Some are more immediate, some have longer range things. But to me, that, keeping those lines open is key to the whole thing. So I'm good. So, yeah, do it, and thank you. Thank you for the efforts, and thank you for what you're doing.
Welcome, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
We
guys.
good? Good. Good. All
Thank
set. Thank you very much.
Enjoy your quiet night.
Yeah, I know, right? Ruthie's gonna start yelling at us in a minute. Okay, so we're gonna move right along, and let's go with the approval of minutes of April 10th, 2018. Is there a motion?
I move that the Board of Selectmen approve the minutes of April 10th, 2018.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Nope.
I think we're good with that. I read them. Everything looked fine to me. And everybody was here for those, correct? That's the one
Yes.
thing I didn't check, so we're good. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries 3-0. There's gonna be a trend here tonight, I think, so, yeah, we'll get it right, there you go. We will move right to we did the updates. Let's go to the administrator's report.
Thank you,
Mitch?
Mr. Chair. I have on the table for the board this evening the activities report for the town administrator's office. So I've made a couple of adjustments. The format is will continue to meld over the next couple of meetings. A couple of items just to draw your attention to. As you're aware, the faux triptych is up, and we're working now to find a good date. So it's looking like at this point it'll be beginning of June, based on some scheduling. If the 22nd is our next meeting, that's also the swearing in. Working with Monica Lawton from the Town Art Committee to get that squared away, so we'll certainly be in touch to make sure we're all on the same page. A significant item, I've spoken with some of you on this, the old Firehouse Trust. They are Claire Witten, who's managed it for many years. She's had enough. We thank her for her service, but she's ready to turn it back over. So I've had some conversations with her about that facility. As you know, there's quite a bit of town history associated with that building. To my understanding, the first town meeting was there. There's one of the first police stations
Yes.
was based there. The cell door is upstairs.
Oh, my God.
So she's the plan is that she'll be turning that back to the town on June 1st. Instead of the planned expiration of the lease in December, she's going to turn it back in June. So we met with Claire and her husband to kind of go through the facility, get an idea of mechanical systems, et cetera. So DPW is comfortable with what's there. As expected, it needs a significant amount of work. So working with DPW, the Historical Commission will be reaching out to CPC as well to prepare an application for that. That really is the long-term funding source for that building. From our perspective, that it's a perfect project in our minds for CPC. Hint, hint, Ruth.
Ruth's taking some notes.
So that's really, it's got so much rich history for the town.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work that is needed. It needs, there's some water infiltration. There's quite a bit of lead paint in the building. So we have our work cut out for us. It is stable. I did have the building inspector join us on our tour, and he's comfortable that the second floor is stable enough to continue to be utilized in a capacity for some light storage. So also, one of the uses of that building is storage for Rockport Exchange.
Right. Farmers
So,
market.
yes,
Yeah.
they have quite a few things, but some of their tents are up
Oceanfront
there.
storage.
So we'll be looking to continue via a license agreement with them, certainly subject to the board's approval, a month-to-month basis to allow them to continue to store their items there while we figure out a longer-term plan.
May I bring up something while we're talking about this? And this may be quite unpopular, but I am going to bring it up anyways. The town has all these buildings, and we're running into financial issues sometimes with the maintenance and upkeep of the building. Is it time to maybe think about possibly selling this oceanfront piece of property? I know it's filled with some great history and so forth, but we have a lot of buildings like that here in town. And I think the town would get a lot of money for a piece of parcel and property like that and building.
That certainly would be up to the board if it opted to do that. There certainly is a need for the space at this point. So looking at it functionally, it does get quite a bit of use. And we have some other uses. Once it would be more functional. The other issue is it's not handicap accessible right
I'm
now.
just thinking we have
Community house.
community house and we have the Boy Scout house and, I've always thought that, you know, and I don't know what goes in there all the time, and I've only been in there during first night in Rockport, and it's a charming building and so forth. But I mean, I think we should have the discussion. I mean, I'm sure you could get a lot of money for that. And that could be a restaurant or something, history or something like that. I just think the discussion, I'm not saying I'd support it. I'll probably get run out of town.
Yeah, I'll be
I've
the
always-
one running you.
Yeah.
And I gotta tell you, I won't be, but carefully, and I'll tell you why, because everything should be looked at, but everything should not, but we should look at it all and not have anything be done in haste for
No,
a
no, I
short-term
agree.
financial outlook.
Sure.
And if we can talk about this and the selling of any building in town, whether it's Firehouse Trust or anything else, is in front of us, it should be looked at, where's the greatest benefit? Is the benefit to keep it and use it for what it's been used for? Or is the benefit to put it onto the tax rolls and have people, use it as a shop or what have you? So I think everything is on the table, but it should be done carefully, not just on the forefront of the uncertain financial times we're coming into. That's my concern.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I guess what I would like to see is the building study committee that we're forming kind of do an entire inventory of all the properties that the town owns.
I agree.
And then make a strategic decision based on some of those factors. And this happens to be a building that does get quite a bit of use. But, there are certainly other properties that might be more appropriate for putting up for sale. So I think we need to do that, Paul. I think you're right. I don't know the answer for this particular building, but I do happen to know just from the farmer's market and the exchange
Excuse me.
how much use it does get.
Sure, absolutely.
So,
So as I indicated in the report, certainly there's some discussion upcoming on long-term plans for it. So it's just the preliminary piece. It is something that is coming back our way. So we'll take steps to be ready to handle it in the short term.
Okay.
With the plan that it does need to be looked at long-term, and the board certainly would have the board would.
We're in the middle of a
The
meeting,
is
Toby.
going on.
The meeting's going on. Meeting started at 6.
6 o'clock.
Go ahead,
So,
Mitch.
we will, certainly be looking for some long-term thoughts on it, and hopefully we can get the building study committee populated at some point. It's
How are we doing so far on that?
We have one member.
one member.
Well, okay.
Although Monica Lawton, I did ask
We've been
her.
trying to convince her
She
to.
said she would.
Okay, good. The last time I talked to her, it was, well, let me start with DPW.
Yeah, but
So-
that's on hold for now. So I talked to
Oh,
her,
okay.
and she said, given that DPW is on hold for now,
Yep.
since it wasn't on the warrant at
Mm-hmm.
town meeting, she said she would do it.
Okay, I
So
will.
I'm a witness.
I will reach out. Very good.
We're getting there.
Hold her
We're
to
making
that.
progress. That's good.
That's great. Well, thank you on that. That's all I have on that one. The other item I want to just draw your attention to, the meters and the kiosks. They're
Yes.
pouring those. They should be functional. We're hoping
Looks
by the
great, by the
beginning
way.
of next
Looks
week.
great.
It does. It looks a lot cleaner with a lot of the poles gone
Yeah.
now. So that
But we're maintaining all of the holes for the trees, for the
yes, and all the
light
areas that
Good.
are affected there were good.
poles. Don't take away the Christmas trees.
Oh, absolutely
the
not.
Christmas
Absolutely
over
not.
there. Yeah.
There you go.
So we're doing well
Actually, you
there.
are. You-
The areas that will still have individual meters, we will be putting up new meters for those. So the meters that we had reached their end of life. Were no longer serviceable by the company.
It sounds like
They
something
no
like a nursing
longer
home.
had. We could no longer get parts for them by the end of the summer, and we could no longer process credit cards in them by the end of the summer.
Yeah.
So it came down to, okay, we need to replace the ones that we
Software updates wouldn't have cured any of this?
they totally stopped handling. McKay totally totally stop supporting that meter.
So we bought more meters.
So we bought less meters,
Yep.
but we still had to buy some, and we did a trade-in
Replace
to replace them.
Okay.
So the areas that will most likely always, for lack of a better term, have meters, the end of Bearskin Neck, the few spots by Front Beach where it's not convenient or you
Yeah.
could never really functionally put a kiosk.
By the Baptist Church.
Yes, so there are some spots that will always end up needing it. Those will have this newer model of the one we have. It's the 2.0 version, basically.
Right.
It's a lot more user-friendly. The screen is positioned flat on the front instead of tilted, so the glare issue is hopefully solved.
Okay.
It looks a lot nicer. It's a lot sleeker. It's a little bit more of a condensed design, hopefully a little more pleasing on the eye. But bottom line, it's much more convenient. So when you need to pick the spot left and right, that's a lot more clear now instead of just up and down with 2 buttons.
Right.
They've duplicated to some extent in a smaller version the kiosk face onto the meter itself. So it's a lot more user-friendly, a lot more intuitive to run. So those will be going in at the same time, and the plan will be to open everything up. We'll publish far and wide that we'll be starting kiosks and meters in the community. We're later than we want it to be, but that is what it is, certainly with getting the kiosks out there. But that is coming soon. The expectation is that we'll have everything running next week.
Awesome, great.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Good there, and
Stage is still yours.
anything else? So the only other one I want to draw your attention to, just I'd ask you to please browse through them when you have some time.
Absolutely.
A very draft set of interim goals for the next 6 months. So these are just areas that either from board members or from the community or things that have been on my radar. A couple of areas that I'd like to start to take some initial look at. Not that other things won't be done, but these were some that were particularly concerning or that have been floating out there that do need some attention. So please do, when you have some time, take a look at it. I'd love to chat with everyone individually on any feedback that you have. I'd look to finalize those later this month, but as I state here, it's important that I'm following the board's lead in these areas, so I want to be sure that you're comfortable with what's here. The 3 general areas, municipal operation, 4 general areas, municipal operations, community engagement, board and committee communication, and financial management. So,
Be a busy 6 months.
these are things that need
like
to
it.
happen. I expect that we're going to have a very busy 6 months, and there's
Good.
a lot more on top of this.
Good.
But these are some of the things that, if we aren't on them now, are going to end up coming back in a reactive fashion for us.
Yep.
So to the extent that we can be in front of them, that would be the goal for these. So please do let me know if you have any feedback. I'm wide open on it, and once we finalize it, I'll put it into an appropriate rating tool for the board to consider.
I got a feeling I'll have 1 or 2 things to say about things on here. But it's good.
Yes.
And all in a good way. I mean, this is something really that was long overdue and I think is going to work out fantastic. And, it just really sets a course for success. And it puts us on the right path to get things done. And I think this is the framework that can help us accomplish that. So,
Good.
good job.
Thank you.
Mitch.
So that is it, unless the board has any other questions for me.
No, I think I'm good. Denise?
Nope.
Perfect.
No, good.
Good. All right, perfect. And did you want, this is on for after, right? Oh, the workshop is the last item.
Yeah, and Mr.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Thank you.
Okay, good.
Action list, right?
Perfect, yep. All right, let's move on to the action list. The appointment of Thatcher Island keepers. Is there a motion?
I see that this was assigned to me.
You need help with some names in there, we'll give you a
All
hand.
right. I move that the selectmen appoint Jeanette Haynes, Sydney Wedmore, Sue Ellen Wedmore, Ray Pizzeni,
Mm-hmm.
Liz Pizzeni, Sharon Cohen, Donna Kuzik, Ray Moss, Demetra Lavrakis, Bruce Lavrakis, Meredith Glazer, Norman Delisle, Heidi Delisle, George Grimes, Paul Senna, Patty Wegman, David Joseph, Larry Dewey Glick,
Haynes.
Larry Haynes,
Yep.
Tom Eldridge, Sadie Green, Harry Newell, Krista Clark, Camille Glick, Dewey Glick, Rich Lorigan, Sandy Lorigan, Nathan Ives, Wayne Smith, Anita Smith, John Fulton, Ian DeWeese Boyd, Margie DeWeese Boyd, Jesse DeWeese Boyd, George Grimes. Didn't I just say them? I said him before.
You did,
Yeah.
he is up here.
Oh,
He's
we
on-
doubled up there.
He's on twice, yes.
Sally Grimes, Nipper Jewett, Joseph Napolitano, and Peggy Flanagan as Thatcher Island keepers for the 2018 season, all employees at will.
Second.
You've heard the motion, it's been seconded, and again, this is one of those committees that they roll up their sleeves and swing hammers and get things done, so a bunch of great people out there, along with all of us. Okay, you've heard the motion, it's been seconded, any further discussion?
Nope.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. 3-0. Let's move to the appointment of Jerry Falco, the boat crew. We have to go to the boat crew, sorry.
Yep.
Appointment of Thatcher Island crew and boat operators.
Again, assigned to me.
We had some last-minute tweaks with the
Never,
shifting.
I'm teasing.
Right, that's okay.
I move that the board appoint Larry Libert, Lawrence Libert, Charles Eldridge, Seth Cutter, William Cardani, Vincent Olivo, Isaac Perry, and Sidney Wedmore as Thatcher Island boat operators, and Patricia Seavey, Linda Bosselman, Philip Goldsmith, Edward Hand, Robert Kraus, Francis Haskell, Edward Mayu, Richard Lorigan, Rita Riley, Paul St. Germain, Edward Taylor, and Raymond Pizzeni as Thatcher Island crew members, and Paula Eldridge as a reservationist for the 2018 season, all seasonal employees at will.
Second.
You've heard the motion, it's been seconded. My son is missing from this list this year.
Uh-oh.
He is going to be the launch operator at Eastern Point Yacht Club and then
Oh, nice.
carrying out to Maine Maritime in the season. So yeah, it's
Fantastic.
pretty cool. But that was it was things like this that really motivated him
Yeah,
to go forward.
cool.
So this was a great experience. Okay, you've heard the motion. It's been seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries 3-0. Let's go to the appointment of Jerry Falco to Long Beach Infrastructure Committee.
I move that the Board of Selectmen appoint Jerry Falco to the Long Beach Infrastructure Committee.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Further discussion?
I guess, why is Jerry being added now? I'm glad she's being added, but,
So we did have the seventh seat was vacant.
okay.
Linda had held that seat prior to her leave, and at that point, we figured, okay, we can carry on with 6. We've since rethought that a bit, that it is important. All of the work that's being done is going to require very close
Right.
relationship with conservation for permitting, et cetera. So it's the committee's belief that it will be extremely helpful to have her at the table. She's attended the last several meetings, and it's already been a huge plus.
Good. Great.
So
Good.
it'd be good for us if we had her on the committee.
I don't see anything but huge benefit in that. I think that's
Absolutely.
great. So that's great. Okay, good. Any further discussion?
Nope.
Okay, you've heard the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you. Let's move on to the warrant for annual town election. Is there a motion?
Sure. I move that the Board of Selectmen
Excuse me.
sign a warrant for the annual town election on May 15th, 2018.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion on this?
Nope. It was
good?
cool to see the warrant. I
Yeah.
hadn't seen one
Yes.
before.
Yeah. Yep, and they get to sign it and you're out there. That's good. Okay, that's great.
Oh,
So-
that's right. Yeah, this is your first
Yeah,
election.
yeah.
Good, so that's great. Okay, great. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. Motion carries. And let's go to the MBTA properties, approval of MBTA properties and projects in Rockport letter.
I move that the board approve and sign the MBTA properties and projects in Rockport letter addressed to Jeffrey Gonerville, Chief Operating Officer of the MBTA regarding the recent completion projects in Rockport.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. This is the letter that talks about the crane, and things down associated with finalizing, hopefully getting everything done down there. So hopefully we can get some participation.
Yeah.
Which would be nice to see, so.
You know, what's really nice is going to the MBTA, usually when I'm about 2 minutes late for the train, and getting out of the car and not stepping in,
Giant
gravel
puddles.
and a big
Right,
puddle
mud,
and,
sink, right,
Yeah,
exactly.
so with they did a nice job.
I'm just looking forward
But
to
we
it.
really do need them to address the historical properties there, and that was the impetus for writing the letter,
Right.
was to make sure that, they do something to maintain those, because they do have historical significance.
Right. Which is still, I'm still fuzzy on it, but I'm really curious to know.
There's a report that I used to draft the letter that I can forward to you, that I got, I think, from Eric, that they actually undertook a historical review a couple of years ago. That the MBTA hired archaeologists and historians, and they actually drafted this really cool report that goes into some detail of, they researched the history of the crane and of the freight house. So I can share that with you. It's pretty
Sure.
cool.
I'd
Yeah.
love- Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. And I didn't realize you were the author of this, is that correct?
Yep.
That's great. Good job.
Thank
Good job.
you.
It's a very well-written letter.
Maybe we can sell the crane. I'm just kidding. I'm only
There you
kidding.
go.
Maybe you can write it out of
Yeah,
town.
yeah, yeah.
You're in a very retail mood tonight, it looks like, right? There
We
you
talked
go.
about maybe moving it though, right?
Well,
Yes.
it's,
Yeah,
I
we
mean, I
can move
guess
it too.
something, yeah.
To where though?
Maybe by the freight house.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
Okay. All right, you've heard the motion, it's been seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries 3-0. That's great. Another one of those words that I'm not even gonna, I'll try it, how's that? Approval of common victualers license for Salty's Lobster and Dogs More, Molly's Sweet Tooth. Is there a motion?
There is. I move that the selectmen approve and sign a common victualer's license. I'm just gonna say it the way it looks.
There you go.
For Salty's Lobster, Dogs and More of 2 Dock Square to expire on December 31st, 2019.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Nope.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries 3-0. That's great. And are we doing?
And we have to do
We're
mine.
doing them
Molly
separately.
Sue, yeah. I move that the selectmen approve and sign a common vicular license. How does that one? For Molly's Sweet Tooth at 8 Dock Square to expire on December 31st, 2019.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Is that like a legal term that has to stay, like, can we just?
Common Vic's
Yeah.
license? That's what I always
Yeah,
call
I
it, Common
don't know,
Vic's.
something like
Yeah.
that. Anyway, all right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries 3-0. We're gonna move on to the approval of home occupation permit Lima Plastering.
I move that the selectmen approve and sign a home occupation permit for Oswaldo Lima Plastering at 17 Broadway.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Further discussion?
No.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. And I'm an aye on that. I didn't say it out loud. I'm sorry. Okay. Let's move to the approval of outdoor display permits for, we'll do them one at a time. The Blue Lantern 29-31 Bearskin Neck. Are we, actually, now see, here's where I go wrong. Now, this one is all of them
Altogether.
inclusive. There you go. The China Gift International, 1 Bearskin Neck. Carol Lee's Cottage, 24 Bearskin Neck. 1 Ocean, 1 Love, 6 Bearskin Neck. Is there a motion now?
I move that the Board of Selectmen approve and sign outdoor display permit renewals for the Blue Lantern of 2931 Bearskin Neck, China Gift International of 1 Bearskin Neck, Carol Lee's Cottage of 24 Bearskin Neck, and 1 Ocean, 1 Love of 6 Bearskin Neck, all for the 2018 season.
Motion been
Second.
made and seconded. Any further discussion on this one?
Yes, so isn't China Gift International the one that we've had the problems with?
I believe it's Asian Inspiration Gallery.
I can't hear you.
Asian Inspiration Gallery
Oh,
is the
I'm
one.
sorry.
And
I
that just came in today, so it hasn't been processed yet, but I
Okay.
expect that there'll be some discussion on that one.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay,
Right.
thank you,
That-
yeah.
And we're gonna keep a close eye on all of these as well. Paul's doing this, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Motion, any further discussion now? Paul?
Oh, no, I'm good.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And the motion carries 3-0. The approval of the Pigeon Cove leases. Is there a motion?
Sure, I move that the, what am I moving?
H9.
H9. I'm sorry. I moved that, oh, that's up Selectman Don. I jumped in
Go
there.
for it.
Okay. I move that the board approve and sign Pigeon Cove land leases with Colby Paulison, Enslow, Albert W. Olson Jr., and John E. Davis to expire on the 30th of June, 2019.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. And these leases are the same leases that they, well, actually, there were no changes made to these. This is all the same, right? We're not.
Correct. They're all identical.
Rent are the same, everything's the same. Okay,
Yes.
good, perfect. Okay, I'm good. Any further discussion?
Nope.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay.
Yep.
Motion carries. Let's go to the Granite Pier leases. You can be Campbell on this one.
Okay, I'll be, I move that the board approve and sign a Granite Pier land lease with Michael Arsenian to expire on June 30th, 2019.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Nope.
Same on this, everything's the same, no issues?
Correct.
Perfect. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries 3-0. And let's go to the disposition of surplus DPW vehicles and equipment award high bidders.
I move that the selectmen award Sean Gavin the sale of a 2006 Ford F-350 unit number 24 for $5,001. to Robert Muldoon,
Muldoon, with an extra O in there.
oh, yeah. There's three O's. The sale of a 2015 Lee Boy roller
1995.
for, did I say 1995?
No, you said 2015.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got distracted. 1995 Lee Boy roller for $1,700, and
Aram
Aram Ask.
Arcalian.
Arcalian?
Yeah, these good names. The sale of a 2016 Fisher V plow to Adam
Aram.
Aram to what's his
Arcalian.
Arcalian for $3,001.
There you go.
We
Second.
got through it. We got through it. Jesus.
This was quite the, this was
Smooth
quite
as
the motion.
sandpaper.
Yeah, yeah.
Way to go. Good job. Okay, you've heard the motion. Is there a second?
I second.
There you go. After some long debate. Is this, now, this is the municipal site we're selling these on, or is this eBay? Where
These are based on municipbid.com.
Municipal.
So these are the winning bids for municipbid.com.
Okay.
Okay, great. All right, that's perfect. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries 3-0. Fantastic. The workshop, excuse me, the workshop scheduling. I don't mind tackling this now, but do you think we should have the full board, or should we grab this now?
Up to the board.
I would suggest that we hold off until we get. There's only three of us.
I don't mind taking it on. I mean, I have no problem. Even if, do you want to schedule, you want to start with one, or, I mean, is that, or would you rather just do it all at once, or? What do you, I guess, Mitch, what do you have in mind for this? These
So
workshops?
when the board is ready to act on them, we do need, some of them would be an additional Tuesday. There's at least one on here that I expect will be a Saturday. It's going to need quite a bit of discussion. It's going to need a day on its own. Some of them, probably 2 or 3 of these can be combined into one workshop. I just need to put them on the radar because the summer is going to be quite busy. And the board does need to opine on all of these at some point during the summer, some certainly sooner rather than later.
So Mitch, why are the work groups not on here as well?
So the work groups, discussing the work groups will be once they're completed.
Would what?
Once they're completed.
Right.
So that's separate from this. Some of them are not moving yet. We don't have end dates for them.
Oh, some of them are moving?
Some of them are not moving yet. So health
But
insurance is
some
the
are.
first. Health insurance letters have gone out for that one already. So that
Oh.
one is the first one going.
I thought I was gonna be invited.
You should have them, you should have gotten it in the mail. Or you should be.
Okay.
You should be.
Checks in
You
the mail.
should get a great form letter from me
Oh,
saying,
good, okay.
"Dear resident, we appreciate you volunteering."
Okay, good.
So that one is going, but I don't plan on bringing those because in front of the board at this point.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
So what would you be looking to do right now? Just set dates for these? Is that what
I'm
you're
looking to
for?
start to set some dates. So I could certainly
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
do it on the 8th, but at some point we really do need to
I mean,
pull the trigger on these.
I'll tackle it
The-
now if you want. If we can go through this, and then if we can make it subject to
The
choosing.
8th is fine with me. I would just really ask the board that regardless of composition, that the 8th, it does take up at least a
Okay.
couple of these. There are 2 in particular that the board does really,
Which
really
are the
should act.
2?
So the long-term plan and decision for Long Beach and the plowing private roads.
Hmm.
If
Yeah.
those 2 could be at a minimum scheduled
Yeah,
by
we
the
need
board.
Sarah for, definitely for the pop.
Yeah,
Yes, so we really do have to get something on the books for those.
yep. So I guess I'd rather wait until we have at least one more member.
We can
if
do that in
that's-
the 8th.
I'm okay
yeah.
with it. I don't, I know why we're doing it. I just hate putting things
No,
off.
I agree,
You know,
I
I
agree.
just don't like doing
Yeah,
it.
no,
It's
no, I
not-
agree. And we put, we need to make some decisions.
Exactly.
on these
Exactly.
things,
No,
so,
that's fine. That's fine. And,
Plus, I don't have my calendar with me, so.
and at the workshop meetings, do we plan on having them vote eligible if votes need to be taken as far as a direction?
They're technically regular meetings. You could
So you could vote.
vote if you'd like, if the board wishes.
Okay. I mean, if we, again,
They're
if we,
posted regular meetings. It's just functionally they're considered a workshop. You
so
could
if we,
certainly vote.
we take up private roads and we decide on the track we want to take on that, we can vote on it at that meeting, get it done.
You could if you wish. Yes.
Perfect.
And
Okay, good.
do you want to just read them just for the benefit of
Certainly.
those listening or
Well-
watching from home?
Certainly. The bulleted list Long Beach, long-term plan and decision for that. Plowing private roads, Board of Selectmen goals and objectives, permanent town administrator process timeline, affordable housing program, strategic planning, the town vision, DPW facility, license and permit fees, committee charges. So not all inclusive, but certainly significant
Yep.
items.
Okay, good. I think this, I gotta tell you, Mitch, this coupled with, the directions that a lot of this stuff ties into what you put in here, as far as municipal operations and all of the points that you brought up. I think we're moving in the right direction. Things are gonna happen, and it's not, I love appointing people to committees. That's a great thing to do. And I say this all the time, but this is the work that needs to be done in order to set the course. So I'm very happy that this is going on. So we're good. Okay. So the workshop scheduling will be put off until the 8th. You'll put that on, Mitch, I'm sure. And now we have other business and announcements. Anything?
I have no
Come
announcement.
on, you usually have something.
There was, when you were talking about having Ann Margaret and Bruce Tarr come, there was one thing I want to make sure that we do talk about with them. And that is the allocation of funds for school choice. Because we have had so many school choice students coming to Rockport, and we get 5,000 per. I hesitate a little bit to bring this up. We need more money for them. But I read the paper today and how Gloucester is cutting their school budget. Slashing. And I have a friend who lost her job. She was a Spanish teacher.
Oh, that's awful.
It's really awful, but we just, we're paying, we need more money for
School
those
choice
kids.
came in, I think it was 1991.
And they haven't changed
It
the
hasn't changed.
allocation. Yeah.
$5,000.
Right.
And our
So-
actual cost to educate is around 12,000, from what I understand.
I think 17, isn't it?
Is that
might
much?
be
I
right.
thought it was 12 or 12.5.
I think it depends on the grade.
Yes, it's up there. It's certainly
Yeah.
more than 5,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, school choice is great. It fills seats, but it leaves us with a structural deficit for this whole thing, and it doesn't. Everything has to be looked at. Everything has to be. Looked
It
at.
just needs to be increased, because
Yeah.
if we got
Right.
rid of the school choice, there'd be about 30 kids in
Right.
the senior class right now, which is amazing.
No,
But,
I mean, it allows us to offer all sorts of great AP classes and,
But it needs to be, there
but
needs
we
to
need
be
more,
increased,
we
yeah.
need
But
to
I
get
think-
more
Right.
money.
No, but I think in the broader context, we just need to find solutions to these problems, and that's why I want them in here early.
Yeah.
To talk about these things,
Right.
so we can set up, because I know I follow a lot of stuff that Bruce and Ann does online, and they're talking a lot about this, about
Mm-hmm.
how they're trying to, and it's a statewide fight. We're not alone in
No,
this.
no, no,
thing.
no.
Everybody
Well,
more
Right,
better
I
than
thought I read that in the last round of the budget, there was an increase for school choice, but.
there was.
Yeah,
From what I understand,
Yeah.
there was. Now, what happens in the final version, I
Who
don't know.
knows,
But
right.
but
They'll
is
send
what
it to
is.
committee.
But that's where I think, really having Ann and Bruce involved in what we do and having open lines of communication,
Yeah.
we're in good shape, so that's good. Anything else?
Nope,
Nope.
I'm good.
The chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
second,
Been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
and it's still light out.
And I get to
Oh,
do that.
yeah.
There we go. Very good, thank you. Thank you.